Hey everybody, Coach Mel here. Thanks for joining us for the MelFit podcast. I'm Coach Mel. I am a personal trainer, nutritionist, chef, food prep coach, food shopping expert, and life coach. We are doing a podcast and we are also loading all of these on our YouTube too. So a little bit of variety for everybody's enjoyment depending on how you consume content. So welcome to the MelFit podcast where we talk all things health, fitness, and lifestyle. Last week we did travel tips. We're going to do a follow-up on that. That was kind of the part one. This week, I wanted to talk about the title of this podcast is Everything We Should Know We Learned in the Third Grade. And we're going to get to that later and it'll all make sense to you, but it's kind of a cute analogy. It's just so true. I was talking to a client yesterday and I said that to her and she just chuckled, and it'll be so relevant for you guys when you hear it. So, I like to share stories because I think it's interesting. It'll help you connect with me a little bit better to know my story. I don't want people to look at me if they can see me on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, I lost 30 pounds and 20% body fat over 20 years ago. And I've maintained it. For the longest time, I was a size 3. The last year, I've dropped down to a size 1. So I just want people to know that I am not here because I have not struggled. I'm here and I'm able to coach you through my own struggles and my own personal journey. And in the forefront of everything I've done, it was always for me first. And that's the best advice I can give anybody listening or watching is no matter what you do, make it about yourself. Don't do anything because someone else wants you to lose weight or somebody else has expectations for you. First and foremost, if you do it for yourself, it will actually work. So how it all started, I'm going to go back a little bit because I do want to make these podcasts approximately 40-ish minutes and hope that while you're listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube, that you are walking on your treadmill or you're outside taking a walk, and it's just really good content that you can absorb, and hopefully with each episode you'll take some little nugget that really inspires you or resonated with you. So how it all started, I grew up on 100 acres with my twin sister Melanie and my older sister Tiffany. And we were always, my twin sister and I were always super, super thin. Back then, there was no TV watching, no cell phones, so we would gallivant and feed the animals and be all over the property. We pretty much were outside from sun up to sundown when we had to come in for dinner. So we didn't know what weight gain was. My older sister unfortunately struggled quite a bit with her weight all through our adolescence and even into adulthood. So I remember being young, and there was a family that I used to hang out at their house every weekend, and they had cows, and they would always try to get me to gain weight. I don't like to use the F word, but they would say fatten me up and get me to drink the cow's milk and the cream on top. And I really honestly to this day do not like milk, probably because it was more like, I think people were like pushing it on me, and it's just like once you see how the milk comes out, I remember there being like black hairs on the cream. Like I think the whole thing just kind of grossed me out. So that's where I kind of realized that maybe everybody wasn't naturally thin, and that there were people in the world that thought that it wasn't normal and that I needed to put weight on. I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. There wasn't anything wrong with me. We were perfectly healthy. It's just that society wants you to be just like them. So we pretty much maintained our weight, our normal weight, healthy body weight, until I turned about 18 or 19 and I started getting into drinking a lot of alcohol. I come from a very small town and there really was nothing else to do but party. So we got into kind of the party scene, and it was kind of standard that you'd go out and you'd have drinks. And then, especially when I got into my early 20s, we'd go to, we'd sneak into bars, and then we'd end up at Denny's at like 3 a.m. Have you ever done that, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when you have had a few drinks, all of your inhibitions go out the window, and you order things at Denny's that you would never order. I do remember, though, I always loved Denny's salad. It was like on this clear chilled plate, and they had a really good ranch and red onions. But yeah, so quite a bit of that, and just working double shift, which is pretty common for me most of my life. Just not having the knowledge, because we weren't really raised with anybody in our home that was teaching nutrition. My mother, although she's a good cook, all of her food tended to be on the, roast and potatoes kind of comfort side of things. She never had a weight problem either, so there was nowhere in that field that she could help us with. So it was all of a sudden, and this has happened to me a few times in my life. So I would say that, unlike a lot of my clients who I read their questionnaires and I see that they've been overweight for a long time, the times that I was overweight were kind of, in between, infrequent, I should say. So it's not like I was overweight for years. So basically, I remember always being like a size 3, and I remember having to buy like size, I had size 13s and they were getting tight, so I was going to have to buy a size 15. And it's kind of one of those things where it came on so strong and hard that I didn't really realize it. Like, in my mind, I thought I looked good, and I'd never had cellulite on my body, and all of a sudden I got cellulite on the back of my legs. And this family that I was living with, they were avid runners. So they told me that if I started running from their house where I was staying down to my work with my dog, that it would eliminate the cellulite. And back then it worked. Believe me, if you're watching this and you're under 40 or listening to this, it gets a lot harder when you're over 40. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that remember in the good old days when you could just change like one thing and drop 5 pounds in a week. And then, the older you get, things change, your hormones change, and it just gets to be a little bit harder. You have to put a little bit more effort into it. I remember I used to own a drive-through coffee stand, and there was a cute girl that came through. She reminded me of myself in my younger years, and she would have a Dr. Pepper in her cup holder, and she'd have a big, huge chocolate bar, and then she'd order this 24-ounce Leppuccino, kind of like a Frappuccino, all the extras, the whipped cream and whatnot. And I thought to myself, I really wanted to say, but that would have been totally inappropriate, but I really wanted to say, wow, enjoy that metabolism while you have it, because when you get older, that will change. And years later, I saw her I'm not going to say where she was working, but I saw her at her work, and she was a checker at a store I was shopping at, and I didn't even recognize her. And in the back of my mind, I was secretly thinking, told you so. So yeah, so we all enjoyed that ride while it was there, but then let's get realistic. Most people's metabolism changes as they get older, and then it's time to do something. So the first time when I was 19, what helped me is I started running, and I was temporarily staying with some friends of mine in their basement. So I didn't want to, I worked a lot of hours, 80 hours a week. I just was there to sleep and shower. I never used their kitchen. So I remember I was going to Taco Bell. You're going to love this, Josh. And I would pick up the Sierra chicken sandwich every day with tater tots. What do they call it at Taco Bell? I don't know. tots. Reminds me of that Napoleon Dynamite tots. So yeah, and a Sprite, you guys. I know, coming from Coach Mel, this is shocking. And I remember every day, like, I was not the type of person that would go and eat anywhere by myself. So I guess you could call it closet eating, to be totally transparent. So I would go back to my friend's house in the basement and I would just kind of closet eat. And I just didn't think anything of it because I just don't think I really knew any better. So between the partying, the fast food every day, eating at the restaurants I was working at, barely exercising. Everybody thinks if you're a waitress, because I was waitressing and bartending at the time. Later on, I got into management. They think that you're going to be fit. Well, it's different. Yeah, you're getting a lot of miles, but when you're eating and drinking back more than you're burning, then eventually the weight comes on. So I got into the running, and then I started dating a guy, and he asked me to move in with him. And I did, and it was the first time in a while, probably like a year, and that's when all that weight came on. I had a stable home, I had a kitchen to cook in, and I felt like my weight just dumped off. Like, I remember having clothes in my closet. It seemed like it was like a month or two after I moved in with him, like instantly, all of a sudden, all my old clothes fit me, and I was ordering new clothes, and I was just feeling really good. And the results of that really got me into wanting to continue because I was seeing results. So then when I moved out there, we lived out around Lake Coeur d'Alene Drive. I started running. I had 2 boxers back then. I know, shocking. And I would run them every single day. And I didn't really get into the weight training until later. I was just kind of the cardio queen. If you're watching this, you'll learn later on in your life, or maybe you'll learn now, that really the weight training is the game changer for real toning and definition on your body. But so I was looking good. I was feeling really good. And that was about age 20 to 25, I believe. And then I met my current husband now. So that relationship fizzled, obviously. And then I met my current husband now. And I think where things went wrong there, so that was probably about 5 years that I maintained my weight, no problem. You know, I was kind of back to feeling like my old self. Quick sip of water there. So I ended up moving in with my current husband, and I feel like we were kind of like in the honeymoon stage where I was kind of cooking a lot, and I was cooking so much food. I remember I was cooking, like, I'd have meat, and then I'd have potatoes, and then I'd have rice, and then I have rolls. I mean, if you're listening to this or watching this and you can relate to this, send me a message or make a comment. But I just think it's funny, like, how we kind of all go through that phase of, you know, wanting to please someone else. And I found myself eating so much. I remember, and I would never do this now because I eat, you know, 3 meals, a snack, and a dessert, and sometimes even an extra shake every day. I was actually going back for seconds. So then the weight started coming on again. Not a lot, but enough to where my clothes were starting to get a little bit tight. And this time I only have one size in my closet. So I'm kind of starting to buy bigger sizes reluctantly. And then I opened up my own drive-through coffee stand, and that's where things really got crazy. I had a part-time employee. She was a hostess at the restaurant that I managed. And my husband all of a sudden decided, without checking with me first, that he would quit his job in construction and come to help me at the coffee shop, which was a really bad idea if you're watching this. Not to say that husbands and wives can't work together, but I think that working together in a small space all the time. It doesn't leave for much conversation at dinner, if we ever got dinner. And also, I just don't think it was really healthy for a new relationship. So we did end up getting married. We got married a year before I opened the coffee stand. So now my new husband is in the coffee stand working with me. And we let our employee go because we wanted to save on wages, which was a really bad idea too. And it was just him and I 7 days a week. And we were working 80 hours a week for probably a little over a year. And it really took a toll on us. It was the only time in our 23 years together that I didn't have a handle on things. I normally always have all the food ready, have the laundry done, and we were just kind of at the mercy of what was available at the coffee stand. We didn't have time to shop for food. We didn't have time to cook food. So I started getting into the bagels. I started getting into the muffins, the high carbohydrate foods, and the weight just came on, and obviously there was no time for any exercise. So it really took a toll on my weight, on my body, on my my mental health, and that's when we decided that it was time to start getting some employees. And I remember thinking at the time when we started getting employees, like, I still hadn't really accepted that I'd gained the weight because I think I was just too busy to think about it. Once we started getting employees and we were trying to have more of a normal life, my husband started going to the gym and he invited me, but I don't know if anybody listening or watching can relate to this, but I just wasn't there yet. Like, I felt like I was too overweight to go to the gym. And this time, I would say I wasn't quite a 15. This time, I'd say I was probably pushing into about a 13. So I could easily get back to the size 15 and then some if I didn't do anything about it. I'm 5'2", barely. I've got a super short torso. So when I gain weight, it's just all in my middle, and I just feel it's just so uncomfortable. So I remember starting to get the feeling of insecurity, and when my husband was at the gym, I started thinking, oh my gosh, is he cheating on me? And I knew that I should probably go, but I just wasn't ready. And that's why whenever I hear somebody say to me, you need to help my wife, or you need to help my husband, or you need to help my so-and-so, I cannot help anybody until they're ready to help themselves, because I know what it's like to have somebody kindly want you to get your crap together and get back to the person that they met when they, married you. Yeah, so we all know what that's like, but somebody else can't push you into it. So kind of my aha moments were, I saw a picture of myself, and I mean, my tummy was just hanging over the skirt that I was wearing, and I was just mortified because I hadn't really seen myself look like that but one other time in my life when I was 19, and it was just for that year, and I was able to get the weight off. It was mortifying. So the picture did it for me. And also I wanted to note what really got me is one winter I started getting into eggnog lattes. That put an additional 10 pounds on me, and that kind of really sent me into a spiral. And I was talking to a client today, and what really was hard for me is I remember being in a dressing room and the fluorescent lights were shining on my thighs, and I was so mortified. I would have rather have had the cellulite be on the back so I didn't have to see it, but I was mortified what my thighs looked like, and that was it for me. Something clicked. Yes, it was New Year's, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's when I decided that, you know what, I have to do something about this. And I asked a friend of mine which is pretty typical of most people. When they do something, they want someone else to do it with them because they're scared and they also want accountability. I remember asking a friend of mine to meet me at a group fitness class at a local gym, and I went there and I felt like I was too overweight to work out, which I know is ridiculous. And if you're watching this or listening, it's ridiculous. But I remember waiting outside the class and I kept looking in the parking lot and wondering, is she going to come? Is she going to come? And I thought to myself, I thought about, how the weight was affecting me and it was just destroying me. So I thought, well, either you can leave and continue to go downhill and single-handedly destroy your own marriage, and it would have nothing to do with your husband, it's all you, or you could get your butt in that class and just suck it up and pray that everybody in there, including the instructors, is going to welcome you and make you feel like you belong there. So that's what I did, and that was over 20 years ago, and I've never really turned back from that. And then again, I kind of went through that process of seeing results, which keeps you motivated, seeing results, which keeps you motivated. And I don't care what level you're at, you can always improve and you can always set new goals for yourself. So that's kind of my backstory. And jumping to the next section, I said this to my husband the other day. He got diagnosed with high cholesterol literally less than 3 months ago, and I helped him make a couple of nutritional changes. One was cutting out red meat, and number 2 was adding consistent exercise in, and he lowered his cholesterol levels in 3 months greatly, like a huge drop. And he was so excited when he got home. And I said, I don't mean to rain on your parade, but in order to keep what you have now, you have to consistently do what you did to achieve this. And I think that's the most important thing for anybody that gets to their goal weight to remember is you can't get complacent. You can't celebrate for very long, because if you do, you're going to oh, it's just 5 pounds. Oh, it's just 10 pounds. And the next thing you know, I would say more mentally, you're back to where you were before. Physically sucks too, but mentally is even worse. So you have to just ask yourself, is it worth it? And if you get to a certain point and you can't break through that threshold, it's just you having lack of self-confidence that you can break through that. And I think that's where hiring me as a coach can help you kind of break through that threshold. If anybody out there has got to that point where they can't seem to cross, I can definitely help with that. And most importantly, I think that with my 20 years of experience in so many areas, I'm so super well-rounded. There's no reason to go it alone, and nobody expects the average person walking down the street to have 20 years of health and fitness knowledge. So you have to get past the stigma of, it's almost like, oh, I feel bad because I have to hire a counselor. I must be a misfit. Oh, I feel so bad that I need a coach. Like, it's not anything to be ashamed about. I think it shows respect for yourself and also your income. If you value your income, you get your paycheck and you go, okay, this much goes to mortgage, this much goes to health insurance, this much goes to my health and fitness. Like, that should be up there with all the other things that are priorities in your life. Your greatest wealth is your health. What good did Steve Jobs' money do, right, Josh? Like, when he passed away, like, what did it do? I mean, he has a lot of quotes and sayings and things he wrote from his deathbed. And I mean, I hang on them with I'm just totally hanging on his every sentence that I read, because it's so true. Not that it's not great to be financially successful and accomplish things in your life, but what good is it if you don't have your health? One quick thing I wanted to say, I was just telling my mom yesterday on the phone. We traveled to Puerto Escondido, Mexico this winter, and we were talking to the age demographic was early 20s. Everybody was super healthy, super fit. I'll use the term granola because I have total respect for these people, and actually ended up leaving with a little bit of an envious spirit, you could say. But we were standing at a restaurant waiting to get in, and we talked to a girl from, I think, Switzerland and Amsterdam, and oh my gosh, there was people from Russia. But the one thing that I noticed about all of these kids, I'm going to call them kids, they were all fluent in multiple languages. They all seemed to have enough money to travel for up to 6 months. And they just had, I was envious because I thought, oh my gosh, like, are these kids going to have any regrets when they pass away? I mean, are they going to wait until they're 60 or 70 years old and in poor health to start traveling? No, they're traveling now. And they were baking pot brownies. Not that I smoke marijuana, but I'm not against it. It's a free country. You can do what you want. It's legal in most states. But they were baking marijuana brownies. They were making different food items to sell on the beach. Some people, they were making jewelry and selling it out of their cars. So they were making it work. They were living pretty frugally. There was a lot of hostels, and there was tents. And have I told you this already, Josh? It's kind of interesting. Can you imagine early 20s traveling for 6 months? I will tell you, where we traveled, I could see why these 20-somethings, I can see why this was a hot spot. Everything was so inexpensive. Like, you didn't even have to ask the price. You could have a couple cocktails if you drank. You could have an appetizer. You could have your meal. And for 2 people, our portion would be like maybe $50 or $60. So it was really, really a cool place. And it was just this street. It was like the Vegas Strip in Mexico. It was just filled with entertainment, and everybody was really lively. And it just had a cool kind of vibe to it. But my girlfriend and I were talking at dinner, and she turned to me and said, does that kind of make you envious? And I said, super envious that we can't all get to that point in our life where I'm preaching it, but I probably should practice it more. And I am working on that. And that's why I developed MELFIT, so I could add value to the world, but also fulfill my love of travel. So yeah, it just makes you really take a back seat and think, you know what? Like, can I make this happen now? Can I do this now? Because what if something happens with my health? Like, I would hate to pass away with any regrets. So that, I thought that was a pretty cool story to share. So we're going to finally get back to the title of this podcast, which is Everything We Should Know We Learned in the 3rd Grade. I'm going to take a quick sip. And how this comes into play is this. I'm constantly giving tips to my clients on MELFIT and on my MELFIT Connect Facebook group about systems that we can put in place to be successful. And going back to everything that I said from now back until I was in my early 20s, what has changed from then to now? How have I been able to maintain a size 3 and actually even get smaller and actually even get leaner? Like, what have I done to get here? And I'll share with you what I've done is the things that we did in the 1st grade. So what did you do in the 3rd grade? So what did you do? Get in line. I wrote a few notes. The bell rang. No talking to get more things done. You set your clothes out, you packed your lunch. Okay, so I'm gonna just touch on these bullet points. Okay. First of all, the reference of the bell ringing. Okay. So the reference that I used for MELFIT is that if you set a reminder on your 4 workouts that I love the setup here at Josh's office. I was going to try to do the podcast at my house, but we've got the brains in the room next to us, so he gets us all going. So super thankful for Josh for that. But I always encourage my clients to plan on Sunday how many workouts you're going to do. Get on your phone, if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30, set the reminder just like you would a very important appointment, because you are a very important appointment, and then set a reminder to go off 15 minutes beforehand. How does that correlate to the bell? What happened when the bell rang, Josh? Where were you going? To your classroom, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it just kind of automatic?
Yeah.
So same goes for Melfit. When the bell goes off, you're going to the classroom, but your classroom resembles a small gym in your house that has a mat and a set of dumbbells, okay? So furthermore, to the point of everything we learned in the 3rd grade, what did your mom tell you to do every single night, Josh?
She told me to put clothes out for the next day.
Yeah, right? Why are we, I'm 47, almost 48, why did we not keep those habits going? Am I right, Josh? Like, where did we go wrong? Why were we not taught that these should actually be, we should be doing these as an adult? I guess we think we're too mature. Well, we're not, because people can't seem to get into a workout routine. So there's where you either sleep in your clothes, which I've done when I used to do a 5 a.m. class, or you put your clothes out at the end of your bed or on a chair, or you put your clothes out if you're working in your office and you're gonna the alarm's gonna go off. You're gonna look at your little basket and you're gonna put your clothes on and you're gonna work out. So wherever you can see them, you're going to set your clothes out, okay? Also, everything we should know we learned in the 3rd grade. How many times did you get in trouble for talking in class?
Me?
Yeah.
0.
What? All right. I got in trouble all the time. We all know I'm a motor mouth. Really, Josh? Oh my gosh. What? So what happens when you're talking too much? You're not getting any work done, right? So how can we reference this to Melfit and what you're supposed to get done, i.e. your workout, staying on task all day so you can get your workout done, shopping for your food, or prepping for your food. So the no talking in class to get more things done, how I reference it to Melfit is setting boundaries, which I'm still working on, right, Josh? Setting boundaries and putting your phone on do not disturb. If you are trying to get an 8-hour workday in and then get home and get a 25-minute workout in, how are you going to get that done when your phone's not on do not disturb? I mean, you could spend 4 hours bantering back and forth with messages that are unnecessary or things that could be done. What's that phrase? When something takes you 30 minutes on the phone and it could have been accomplished by an email. So that's setting boundaries, okay? Everything we should know we learned in the 3rd grade. What else did your mom say right before you went out the door? Josh, don't forget your
Homework,
lunch, okay? Don't forget your lunch. Why, as an adult, are we walking out the door without our lunch? I still scold Josh. I brought his lunch for him today. So that's where how it correlates with Melfit is I've got you shopping Saturday, prepping Sunday. So guess what? Your lunch is ready. All you have to do is maybe set a reminder to pack your lunch, figure out how many hours you're going to be at work, okay? So if I ate breakfast and I come to Josh's office where we're at now, I'm going to need a snack and lunch. And if it's a late one, which it's not going to be today, I would actually bring another snack and then have dinner. So a little pre-planning goes a long ways. Everybody always says, well, what if I'm going here? What if I'm going there? Your goals should never change. If you are embarrassed that you have your food prepped, the person that you're with should be embarrassed that they don't have the same goals that you do. If they need help in that area, it's okay to be different, and it's okay if you get a question to explain, well, you know what, I've got some pretty hefty goals for myself. I'm working with a coach. This is what we do. I stick to this meal plan. I'm getting great results. If you'd like to know anything else about it, I'm sorry that I can't eat the food that you're eating right now. It's not my free days. So, and you just kind of let people know what you're doing. So I just think it's really funny that it's so true that everything we learned from the third grade, it just needs to carry over. And the silly things, if you're watching this and you have kids at home, all the things that you're telling your kids to do, don't snack in between lunch and dinner. No dessert after dinner. Drink your water. Like all those things, we as adults, we need to be doing them too. So I just thought that the title was so perfect for this podcast. And one thing I wrote is when you establish a routine, when you establish a routine, that creates results, which creates enthusiasm, which creates motivation to keep going. Do you kind of feel that way, Josh? Mm-hmm. When you get a good weigh in, doesn't it just like totally get you excited? But what got you there? The routine, right? So progress comes in the form of a daily routine. You've probably seen this quote so many times. Everything you do that's going to change your life lies in your daily routine. So if you're listening to this or watching this and week after week after week has passed and you can't seem to get out of that funk and you don't think that doing one thing will help, it will. I promise you. Tell me what you're doing now and I'll tell you where you'll be a year from now. If you started drinking water and walking, you're going to be in a better spot a year from now. And I think that what I can leave you guys with in closing is the problem with most people and the reason that they don't want to start is because they have the perfectionism problem. Like everything has to be perfect. I can't start until my baseboards are clean, my fans are clean, my windows are clean. I've organized my photo albums. My kids are out of the house. I've retired. Like the excuses go on. And the fact of the matter is, nothing is ever going to get less chaotic in your life. It's only going to get busier. And you're only going to get, if this is your problem and you're dealing with something that you're not happy with, maybe you want to lose weight or lose body fat or, start to run or just start to cook healthier meals for your family, it's only going to get worse for you. And what really gets worse is not only your body gets worse, your mental health suffers. Would you agree, Josh? And then it's just so hard to pull yourself out of that funk. So my best advice on everything I do in life is start before you're ready. MELFIT is a prime example of Josh and I starting before we were ready. Did we know what we were doing? Had we ever done this before? Yes, I have a lot of skill in what I do, and Josh has a lot of skill in what he does, but we'd never done this. We'd never put together anything like this. So I don't ever look back at anything and think, I do say I sucked, but I laugh because I know I'm so much better now. And Josh, do you kind of say the same thing about yourself? Yeah. And it's I look at it as a positive thing. We can laugh at ourselves. We can look at things that we produced in the beginning versus things that we produce now and realize, wow, we have gotten so much better. So that should correlate to you. You're going to look back and think, let's say you're, working out 5 days a week now. You have no problem getting 10,000 steps a day in. You never struggle with your water. You've always got your food prepped. You take your one free day a week, and it's just like routine for you. Well, if you look back on yourself when you started, and yourself was saying that just the water and the walk wasn't going to get you anywhere, or anything that you added to that each week or each month wasn't going to get you there, you would look back at your former self and you would tell yourself, start before you're ready, because a year from now, that water and that walk are going to help us. 2 years from now, you're going to be so disciplined that, you're going to, like, if you only knew that back then what you know now, and I'm telling you this because I see it all the time. So just know that starting before you're ready will reap benefits. You will feel like, as lots of my clients describe themselves, and I probably used to be the same way, you'll think you're a hot mess. You'll think you're the worst client I ever had. And that's why I have a job, and that's why I'm a coach. And I'm just constantly creating new content with this podcast, with my Facebook Live, with my daily posts, tips and tricks, to just make you realize you're out there with a lot of hot messes, okay? We've all had to start somewhere, and it's putting systems in place, everything you learned in the 3rd grade, that's going to help you start to realize that it's okay to be a hot mess and that we can just try to get organized. A client asked the other day about pantry organization, and I realized that my pantry was a hot mess. My cabinets were a hot mess. We could have made a meal out of my silverware drawer, and it was such a eye-opener for me, and it kind of pushed me to, first of all, take a step back and take one day, organize my pantry, take another day and organize my fridge and clean it, take another day and organize my drawers, take another day and organize my spices. And it was over a period of 7 days. It was not overwhelming at all. And then I shared that information with you guys, and it's just, having another set of eyes on you, or having somebody else make a suggestion, it really does help. So I learn a lot of things from my clients, and I am still inspired by my clients. But one thing that I can't ever forget is where I came from. And that's why I always want to share my backstory, and I always want everybody out there to know that I can empathize with how you're feeling right now, if this is the beginning of your journey or you haven't started yet. I know what it's like, and I think that's what makes me a good coach, because I Josh just produced a printable fitness calendar, and I remember telling Josh, I don't need that now, but I remember needing that. I remember having a journal, and I would have a W with a little checkbox for water, and an F with a checkbox for if I ate all my healthy food, and an E for exercise, and a W for walking. And, so it's really going to be a cool thing that we're going to be able to give our clients who are on our nutrition plans, to just so that they can look at their journey as a glance. But things like that help you until you become me, where I don't really need to necessarily count how many times I fill my water bottle up. Ask Josh, right? I just drink a ton of water, but I'm in Facebook jail right now, but when I get out, I was going to do a Facebook Live, and I think maybe until I get out of jail, I'll just tell people to go ahead and listen to the podcast. But I told my client, this is a 32-ounce water bottle I'm holding up, and what I used to do, and what's a cool idea, is I know that I want to fill this 3 times to get almost 100 ounces of water, right? 36, about 100 ounces of water. So this would be a good tip for you, Josh. But you do drink a lot of water now, right? Yes. So what you would do is, when you drink one, you take one rubber band off, 2 and 3 and so forth. I think that's a cool idea. If you get any value out of that, leave me a comment. So guys, we're at about 45 minutes. We're going to wrap up on this one, and I hope you guys loved the title, Everything We Should Know We Learned in the 3rd Grade. I think it's just so kind of cute, and if you have little kids at home, I think it'd be kind of fun for you to tell your kids, hey guys, Mom and Dad, we're also going to set our clothes out at night. Mom and Dad, we're also going to pack our lunch. Mom and Dad, we're also going to set our phones on Do Not Disturb when the bell rings, which is when your workday starts. So things like that. I hope this podcast helped you. I love connecting, inspiring, and motivating you guys. If you liked this episode, please subscribe and share and comment. And furthermore, if you would write us a review, that would be great. This is kind of a new platform that we're getting into, and we're really going to try to get some content on here every week. And this will help you guys. If you haven't started yet and you're dragging your feet, I was also dragging my feet for how long on this podcast, Josh? And I just didn't think, I kept telling myself I don't have time. Like, I just couldn't wrap my mind around all the clients I'm coaching. Josh and I are constantly creating content, and we're filming and we're marketing. Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around starting this podcast. So here I am, episode 3, because we kind of had a break, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I feel really good about it. And all I had to do was start. And they say it takes 21 days to create a habit. So this week would be 21 days. So I'm really hoping that just starting this and going with this, it's going to create the habit of getting a podcast out every week. So I hope you guys have an awesome day, and we will see you or hear you on the next podcast or YouTube. And thanks for being here with us today, and hopefully you guys got a little exercise while you listen. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.